Yo, what is up, my beautiful brothers and sisters of YouTube? Today we're gonna go over a trade recap. Sorry for the late upload. I've been in grind mode all day. Completely forgot to make a trade recap. Also, let me turn on my light real quick. This is dark as fuck in here. All right, that honestly didn't really make that much of a difference. But anyway, let's go over the trade that we took today, guys. It was a banger. Okay, as you know, I didn't upload any trade recaps last week. Okay, it took a pretty. I was in a dry spell last week for some reason, right? I took 3 L's last week, no dubs. So last week took a pretty big toll on my confidence, on my, on a lot of things, on my P&L. But the good thing is today we did take a dub, and this dub pretty much wiped out like a little over 2 losses. It completely accounted for 2 losses and then some, right? So we're not quite recovered fully from last week, but this trade right here did set us up and put us in a really good position to really be able to capitalize on some great setups for the rest of the week. So let's go over it. And I will show you guys also, I was keeping an eye on ES a lot more than usual today. So I'm just going to get rid of all the drawings and we will replay on over to 9:30 as usual. And then I'll show you guys exactly what I'm looking for. So the first thing I want to do is identify some higher time frame fair value gaps, as well as identify my bias and my draw on liquidity for the day. Now, over the last couple of, I guess, February 12th, like 2 weeks pretty much, a little under 2 weeks, we've been stuck in this higher time frame range, just down, up, down, up, down, up. And then today we made another move up. So we've kind of been chopping around on this higher time frame. Like this week right here was really good for me. And this week right here, because we were trending, it was very obvious. Our draws and our, liquidity, areas of liquidity were very obvious. On a week like the last couple weeks, it's been a lot harder. Price action hasn't been the cleanest on the higher time frame. But what I did notice coming into today was that before market open, we actually did inverse this 4-hour fair value gap. This candle also, wait, actually, well, that would have been the 6 to 10 a.m. candle. So this is what it looked like when I really... the 4-hour candle was still printing, but what the 4-hour candle was down here, and it looked like we were respecting down. But since we did inverse this fair value gap right here, and then we tap back into it, and it looked like we were respecting it, I actually was bullish today. So I marked out that, and then the next thing I do is go on over to 9:30, which is where New York session opens, which is all the way over here. Sorry, and then I also look at where price is right at open relative to London and Asia levels. Once again, guys, the indicator for these things right here is called ICT kill zones and pivots brackets TFO. I don't know what that means, but that's what the indicator is. And then it's going to come default with NY, NY, NY. Just uncheck all 3 of those and just leave on Asia and London. Don't change anything else. And then you'll be able to see untested Asia and London levels, which are, when you're trading ICT concepts like I do, they are very, very crucial to have, because these areas can act as liquidity, very, dominant and strong areas of liquidity. So I want to see where price is relative to these levels when market opens. I also noticed that we were inside of this gap coming into open, but I noticed that the only level that we had untested was a London low. Now, this is perfect for me, because what I'm expecting to happen is for us to come down, sweep this London low, possibly get some kind of SMT, come back up, on the way back up. So pretty much exactly what I wanted to see. I'm going to draw it out for you guys. If I can find the brush. Where's the brush? Okay, whatever. Fuck it. I'm just going to... What I was expecting was to come down like this, come up on this way up, form a 5-minute fair value gap, retest it, respect it, and then play upwards towards my draw on liquidity for today, which was previous high of day, which is right there. Now, another thing that's helpful to note is that this, again, we inverse this 4-hour gap from overnight. That's pretty much the main reason I was bullish. And look at how we were respecting this zone. So we broke above this, closed above it. That's a 4-hour inversion. A high time frame fair value gap inversion is a very, very strong confluence for me, especially after we break it, retest like this, and then look at how strong we wicked. That's kind of a spoiler alert of market open. So exactly like I thought, we came down and swept London low. Now I was looking for longs in this area. In order to get my long entry, I was looking for a 5-minute fair value gap to be formed on this uptrend. We get a 5-minute fair value gap that gets formed right here. This is a pretty huge gap, but I still marked it out like so. Then what I'm looking for is for us to come back down into this area, respect this 5-minute fair value gap, and get some kind of 1-minute inversion to target our draw on liquidity, which was previous day high. So that's what I want to see. I want to see us come back down into this area now. And as soon as we start to kind of show this rejection, another thing I've been doing recently is looking at equilibrium. So equilibrium is basically the center of your given range. Anytime you're presented with a range on the chart, your equilibrium is considered the midpoint of that range. And that's where ideal balance happens, right? Because every time there is some kind of expansionary move to one side, price is going to want to rebalance it, right? It's very unlikely that this thing would just rip completely. I mean, it could happen. It's happened plenty of times before, but the majority of the time, you're going to get some kind of rebalance in the trend, which is what happens here. So not only do we tap back into this 5-minute fair value gap, as well as this 4-hour fair value gap, which is this gray box right here. Once again, if I zoom out, it's a lot easier to see the 4-hour gap right there. We rebalance the range perfectly and tap into our equilibrium. Perfect. Now I'm looking for long. So I'm looking on the 1-minute time frame, and I'm looking for a 1-minute inversion, which originally comes right here. So now I'm going to go over something that I learned today that I'm going to start doing as well. Our first initial inversion on the 1-minute time frame was right here, right? We formed this 1-minute fair value gap on the way down, and then we closed above it right here. That's a perfect inversion. After we respected this 5-minute fair value gap, which is this big box, after inversing the 4-hour, after sweeping London lows, pretty much every single thing is yelling take longs right now, right? We rebalanced the range. We had this extremely strong liquidity sweep. Excuse me. Anyway, sorry, I'm talking way too fucking fast right now. I'm literally running out of breath. So this is where I took my first entry. I put my stop loss right there at that low we just created. And I actually did put my take profit here at high of day because this was a very high RR. This was over a 2 RR for me. So at this point, I was willing to just put my TP right there at high of day. And since there was no level for me to go break even, normally if I was targeting this, I would go break even at high of day. But since I was targeting here, there was no internal level for me to go break even. So I just set my break even to a 1-to-1, which was right there. So I was going to go break even right there. And that's where I took my first entry. But one thing I did notice today is that we actually had this gap as well that was being respected. So we formed this 1-minute fair value gap, which got respected right here. What I think I'm going to wait for is the very first fair value gap to be inverse to confirm structure to the desired direction that I want to see. So in this case, it was longs. Instead of taking it right off this inversion, right? Because even though we got this inversion, everything's kind of pointing to longs. This very well could have come down to completely fill the fair value gap, and I would have got stopped out. And that would have sucked. If I waited for this inversion, I would have a bigger stop loss, probably around an 85-point SL, but then I would be able to also target my true draw, which was 132 points, still for a positive risk to reward ratio. So this ended up coming up, and then we went break even right there, and then we got stopped out break even right there. If I was to wait for this to get inversed, I would have filled right there with my stop loss down here, and that actually would have hit. But after that trade, the second trade that I took was now an inversion off of this 1-minute fair value gap that got formed again within the 5 minutes. So I noticed that we came down into this fair value gap after rebalancing the range, tapping at equilibrium after the liquidity sweep. Boom, we rip up. Very strong bullish candle right there, respecting that 5 minute. I'm like, okay, I know for a fact this thing is going to go up, and the expansionary move is loading right now. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not missing out on this like I did yesterday. So I marked this out. I was like, okay, 1-minute inversion right there. I'm in. Wait, or a loss. Okay, it was right there. So I took longs right there, stop loss at the low that we just created for a 40-point SL. And then I, again, just targeted high of day. This was a slightly less RR, only 1.73, but still positive nonetheless. So that's really good. And this thing literally ripped straight up to TP, which was great. So we hit TP there, wiping out our last 2 losses and then some, like I talked about. But then this thing did end up to ultimately take out my true draw on the day, which was previous high of day right here. And that's what happened. So initially, what I could have done better today, guys, and I'm always learning, right? No matter, I've been trading for a couple of years now, and I'm always trying to learn no matter how much market experience I've got, no matter, you know, how many dubs or Ls I take. There's always something that you can take away from the chart. Now, I think an ideal scenario for me today would have been to take this setup right here, which was waiting for the inversion off of this gap right here, which we would have got right there. We would have had our stop loss right there. We would have went break even right there, and our TP would have been here. That would have given us, I mean, that actually only would have given us a 1.3 RR, but that eventually would have hit. We would have went break even right there, and then this thing would have actually got hit. That's only a 1.3 R, so I don't know. I actually probably would have made less money, so maybe I did do the right thing by re-entering. But anyway, give or take, you know, whatever. If I took this or I was to take the other one that I did take, it was a dub. So overall, what we did end up taking was 1 dub and 1 loss, which was this. And I could have targeted my true draw right up here, which would have been a 3.6 RR, which would have been absolutely insane. You know, hindsight 2020, this could have very well reversed after taking out high of day, stopped me out break even, that I would have just been like, fuck. So I think I did the right thing. I had a great RR still. 1.7 is a great, you know, it's not the best in the world, but it's over a 1 RR, and, you know, that's what I aim for most of the time, or all the time. I like my RR to be at least a 1.5. And yeah, that's it. Pretty much nothing else to go over. That was pretty much it. We got our, pretty much my entire sentiment for what price was going to do today was perfect, was to come down, sweep this London low, and then break to the upside and eventually take out this previous high of day, which is what happened. We got a great setup on longs. 2 great setups on longs here, honestly. These were both great trades. I'm very satisfied with both of them. And the most important thing is that I just followed my rules and stayed composed. So we're back, and it felt really good to take a dub. I was due for one, so this has set us up really nicely to hopefully capitalize for the rest of the week. And, you know, one more dub, and we're going to be one more dub, and that'll wipe out completely all the losses, and we'll be up a pretty good amount on the accounts. And then hopefully we can snowball to a payout on my 9 accounts, which would be my biggest payout ever. This is the most accounts I've ever had, and that would be my biggest payout ever, even if I was just to take out $1,000 per account. That'd be my biggest payout ever, and that'd be crazy. So anyway, with that being said, that's it, guys. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And I'm gonna get to work on the 100K per month video series, or episode 2, excuse me, that I've been working on this week. And yeah, that's it. Later, guys. Peace.